That's funny. Are we on? Okay, very good. That was kind of loud, not intentional, but good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June 22nd Board of Commissioners Workshop. It's glad to see so many people here in the audience, and as many of you have tuned in, you're at your home, hopefully preparing all of us dinner. So welcome to all. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and Elizabeth, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Harker?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gillikin?
Here.
Commissioner Spiegler?
Here.
Commissioner Matthews?
Here.
Commissioner Cooper?
Here.
Commissioner LaPiccolo?
Here.
Okay, we've got a full agenda, so I want us all to take a deep breath in, let it out, and let's get busy. So, with the agenda presented, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. And today we've got a presentation from the Beaufort Crossing as an economic development. Mr. Jeff Barron is going to come up and talk to us about his project that he's got going on at Highway 101 and 70 Bypass. And we're excited to hear from you.
Good to see y'all.
Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity to present this. Let me pass this out to y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got the clicker ready, right? Ready. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to present this. We're grateful, and you've got the agenda with the site location map. And so let's get started. 80 acres at the intersection of 101 and 70. We consider it ideal for a commercial business project. And we're gonna walk through this presentation to show you our thoughts and our ideas going forward. You can go, D. Our team consists of Lyle Gardner. He has a home here. He's been here for 18 years. He's been assembling this land for the last 15 years. He's involved with Spectrum Homes and Evergreen Construction. He's an excellent human being. He's my partner, and we are just grateful to be doing this project together. He's very successful in what he's done. My daughter, Diana Kromka, she is our broker in charge at Barron Properties, and we have partnered up with Lyle to put this package together from a developer point of view. And then I'm a member. I am a Carteret County resident. I've been here permanently for 10 years, raised a family in Wake Forest. Thank you. And grateful to have this opportunity. In the audience, we have Josh Edmondson. He's with Tidewater Engineering. Josh, raise your hand. And he's helping us go through the process of approvals and permits, hopefully with y'all, obviously. That's why we're here. So we want him to hear what you folks have to say. And Wendy Neighbors is here. She's involved with Affison and Young from Raleigh to help us perhaps bring forth some international tenants, national tenants, what have you. So we got a great team behind us. All right.
So you might be thinking, like, why are we coming to you with this right now? But Beaufort is growing, and we know that the service infrastructure needs to grow with it. So Beaufort and Downey's strong residential growth has a need for commercial goods and services. You know that the airport's plan to extend the runway and relocate Highway 101 are already underway. We have completed an 80-acre acquisition of property that is needed to develop a large-scale, mixed-use, commercial-type development. And the ongoing construction of I-42 makes the Crystal Coast so much more accessible from the Triangle and points west, funneling people to our area. Future growth, we know, is inevitable, but balanced growth is highly desirable.
Yes. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
The last significant commercial project was Food Line And that was built in 1994, 32 years ago. And since then, there's been a great deal of residential development, which has brought forth the need for this commercial development, as we see it.
So here are the existing conditions
Yes.
where we're at.
Existing conditions. You see the white line, that's the boundary of the property. That's approximately 80 acres. And are y'all familiar with the location? First and foremost, right there at the light. Calvary Baptist Church, you can see that, it's kind of outlined.
Extend it.
Some people like online and stuff.
Gotcha, sorry. So y'all familiar with that location?
Yes.
Cool. Future location. What's happening here is when the airport extends its runway 1,000 feet, it'll cross over 101, creating the need to relocate Highway 101 to the east, as you can see in purple. Y'all see that?
So
What-
it kind of messed up. I was on Canva and I converted it to PowerPoint. It kind of messed up here, so
It's all right.
sorry about that.
But it will dead end, existing 101 will have probably a cul-de-sac. It'll dead end at that point. And the full access will be also on the future 101 relocation. So that's what the future area is going to look like transportation-wise. Let's see. Let's go to the phase plan, y'all. We see this, you see, in red as our first phase. Blue would be our second phase, and green would be the third phase. We would like to initiate the first phase, and of course, perhaps the second phase, but the third phase will probably be associated with the extension or relocation of 101. So we would like to develop those two phases as the market allows. That would mean about 25 acres for the first phase and 17 acres for the second phase. It could be built out perhaps 5, 7, 10 years for this project to perhaps be built out. Anything to add? And here's the concept plan. You can see that the purple line represents a collector street connecting existing 101 to the future 101. And that would be basically the main street of the project and develop on each side of the street. We're thinking about having, perhaps in the first phase, a grocery with some goods and services, some offices, and in the second phase, medical, and perhaps retail and some fitness. And then in the third phase, as the market unfolds for us, we could have recreational, institutional uses, perhaps light industrial, and other office and goods and services. So this is the design vision.
Yes, and we are hoping it's more of a commercial village atmosphere here. We would like to see this project respond to the trade area by bringing together important goods and services. We want to see creative business innovation, and it be a total mixed-use setting like he was just talking about in our master plan. We want to focus on live, work. We want to focus on convenience and walkability. We want to see open spaces here. And total community engagement. Our vision includes unified architecture, generous coastal landscape, and a polished streetscape.
Perfect. Thank you. These are the Beaufort services that we see that the market will provide. Daily essentials, grocery, convenience, retail, professional services, health and wellness, medical offices, fitness, wellness providers, family needs, daycare, entertainment, community spaces, office, professional, commercial, governmental, and institutional buildings, community, recreation, open space, events, and light industrial, and visitor services such as lodging, dining, and hospitality services. Dee?
And we love where we live, so we want to create a lot of community value here, and we think a stronger tax base is only part of the story. So we think the benefits of this project in the area starts with the location, the access, and the visibility. So we have 80 acres on the intersection of US 70 and Highway 101, and we think it's ideal for a regionally based commercial project. We have 3 points of access off 101 and 300 linear feet of visibility and frontage along 70. Okay.
Currently, there's 16,000 vehicles per day that hit this intersection, which is the highest vehicle count in the region. Which leads me to further believe that this is the hub of the wheel for Beaufort, for now and in the future. And it's definitely a gateway into your community.
So service delivery value. So studies have shown that commercial properties generate municipal revenue at a significantly more efficient rate than residential properties. And then we could add in sales tax on top of that. Okay.
Between the Beaufort Club, Bow Coast, and Live Oak Townhomes, I think there's about 1,000 houses. Don't trust me on this number, but at least 1,000 housing units have been put on the ground in the last 4, 5, 6 years, which leads us to the thought of having more commercial development, which pays for itself in more than a residential development.
Okay, and community partnership, we've talked about this already a little bit, but working with the town of Beaufort and with the airport, it can be mutually beneficial for all of us for the infrastructure needs like roadways, stormwater, utilities, etc. And then site design. So this large-scale project provides the opportunity to unify a design. Think beautiful architecture, think landscape. It also provides for integration of environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Do you have something?
I don't think so. That does.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, jobs and economic development. So a market-driven commercial project creates local jobs, economic development, and business innovation opportunities for our community.
Yes. Jobs. Okay, the path forward, y'all. Number one, we have to accomplish some annexation. Number two, we'd like to accomplish rezoning, and then we can go forward with our master plan, go to the marketplace with this, with your confidence that that by giving us the annexation and rezoning will give us confidence to go to the marketplace and bring forth what we hope to have is a tremendous tenant mix of retailers and offices, et cetera, as we've discussed. So the first thing is the proposed annexation. You see that in purple. There's 3 parcels in the front along Highway 101 and that parcel on the back side, which is currently zoned B1. We're proposing to annex those properties in purple. By the way, go back just one if you would.
Sorry.
38 acres between the two annexed proposed properties is owned by R&L, is owned by our partnership in Lyle. They're in the town. They're actually annexed in the town. They've been paying taxes on vacant land for an extended period of time, just an FYI. Go. Okay. Getting coached over here. This is the current zoning. You see how you have B1? Kind of in the middle of the project. I'm not sure how it got that way. And you can see where RC5 is, which is basically 8 units per acre, and then R20. And what we are proposing to do is to rezone as follows. The R20 to B1, the R5 to B1, and then R20 to B1. Y'all see that come on? So that's it. Thank you for the opportunity to present it. And if you got any questions, we'd be delighted to talk through anything.
Well, thank you for that robust presentation. The town of Beaufort is looking at economic development, and it would be nice to look outside of our jurisdiction. We're getting a little crowded here to move forward and to have some great opportunities. I know you mentioned recreation and things in Phase 3. If that
Yes.
could be bumped up to Phase 1 so that we can have something for our kids to do, that would be great.
Absolutely.
But I would like to know if the board has any questions or comments they would like to make on this topic. Commissioner Gilligan? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for this presentation, and I am thrilled to understand the background of this. I'm the one who made the motion at the last meeting to not study for annexation because it was a very long meeting, and we had multiple quasi-judicial proceedings, and I felt like this board, including myself, could not make a good decision on behalf of the citizens after
Smart.
those heavy items and not having this background. So this is something I take really seriously, and I really appreciate the information.
Thanks, Ms. Gilligan.
Thank you.
Okay. That down here, Commissioner Matthews?
Extremely exciting, very exciting, and I appreciate the presentation. I have numerous questions, but I understand you're just coming in. This is relatively new, so I'll just ask one, and that's the way of timing moving forward.
Yes, that's what we'll work with the staff, and I guess to present to you, I think the first step is to initiate annexation as a study first, and as well as the rezoning, which I believe the town clerk takes that responsibility on, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the direction we would like to take this, if it's up to the board.
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned rezoning to B1, but you also talked about residential on the property.
Yes,
And from what I understand, though, residential is not allowed in B1. Am I right about that, Kyle? Mixed use, right. So, and you also talked about making this kind of a cohesive plan. The concern is with using it as different parcels and stormwater and so forth, trying to kind of make that a cohesive plan with 3 separate parcels and 3 separate developments. Have you thought about moving it more towards a planned unit development or some type of a project in that regard?
well, we know that we would have to have a master plan for stormwater, and that would be engineered by the Tidewater Group for sure. And it would come back to you folks to, for your consideration. So all that would be tied together, as well as the transportation piece of it. And as far as the residential, John, I think that, we thought that the possibility of work-live could be a real neat component, and perhaps second story over retail or commercial would be appropriate. But we're going to allow the market to see their way into this project, and we'll make decisions, but ultimately you all will be making site plan decisions.
And curious about timeline with the airport and how confident you are about that line. Now, you've put that out there, so lots of people are going to be asking, is that where it's cutting in? Is that what's happening? Have you received information from DOT about the location of the tie-in, or do you know what your timeline is with the airport, with land acquisition and so forth,
Yeah.
and completion for that?
Yes, sir, we're working with them right now for land acquisition. And they have designed the relocation of 101. I'm not sure how involved they've gotten DOT into the process, but they are working that diligently right now. As far as the timeline for this whole thing to come together, I honestly don't know. And I don't think anybody knows at this point.
Okay.
But I know they're working on private and public funds to make this thing happen.
I imagine this will come through planning board first to be able to evaluate this. There may also need to be traffic studies performed and so forth as well. So I do look forward to seeing what you guys bring. Economic development has been something we've spoken about as a board. I think this would have a positive impact on the community, especially the tax base for the community, if we can do this right. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Pickle.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner.
I just want to echo the other commissioners and say this is very exciting, and we are looking to do some commercial development. As you said, we've had a lot of residential, and so in that regard, it will be interesting for the zoning. B1, it might be a good thing because we do need the commercial, and while it'd be great to have some housing, like you said, you know, we've already got a lot of that in this town, so I think that's really exciting. This might be a question for Kyle. Is this site in the flood zone at all? No, ma'am, or no, sir,
Yeah, this-
okay.
It's Highlands. It's
So that
really-
would be a good, this would be a good place for it. I will echo Commissioner LaPiccolo. Probably my biggest concern at this point is the traffic, because as some of us in town call that intersection Kill Hill, it's really hard to see over. It is not a good design. And right now, 101 is just 2 lanes. And, you know, I think about my time in Raleigh and how I go to the shopping centers there and I sit in traffic for 20 minutes just to try to get in and out of the parking lots. And I
Yes.
know that's not what we want here in Beaufort. So like Commissioner LaPiccolo said, if we do this right, it could be really great for the town. But that's, I'm sure, no resident wants to sit in traffic or get in an accident there. So that's going to take some doing there.
Yes, good comment. We do have 3 points of access into the project off of 101 right now.
You have what? I'm sorry.
3 points of access.
Okay.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
it's still going to be a lot with 1-lane traffic each way, and that intersection is terrible. The site is just terrible there.
I get it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
You call it Kill Hill?
We don't want to
Kill
repeat
Hill.
that, but could be improved.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you, ma'am.
So much.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, you have another, got a follow-up for you. Don't go anywhere yet. We've got a
Yep.
follow-up for you.
Yeah, so excited to see the potential for something to come in that could better support our tax base. I do think we have plenty of residential right now. I'd like to see more residential for workforce, but this is, you know, something good for us to be pursuing, you know, getting some commercial tax base. However, I just want to be really upfront about representing the citizens in a way that's authentic, and some of our citizens were concerned about a residential community that came in, and we were presented some master plans and some initial plans that showed all the housing being cute little cottages, like southern cottages, that really fit into Beaufort very well and ended up being very different from that. So, you know, if we go into some kind of a partnership, or anybody that we have a partnership with, is much appreciated to work together on those things and make sure that those things are represented in a way that they truly may look on the ground, although I realize there are little legal obligations to do so. But I was just kind of wondering about the picture that you put up there, how accurate you thought that was, or just was
So-
that representing kind of your idea of that mix of commercial and it looking like a village and things like that? Because I think our citizens do care about how things look and if they kind of have a Beaufort flair to them.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that came from AI, but I just asked ChatGPT to give me exactly that. Like, give me historic, give me streetscape. We want vegetation. We want walkability. So that's definitely that's what we want influence there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. You guys will get a shot at this when the site plans come through. And we're gonna hopefully mirror our concept into those site plans. Architecturally, landscape, building elevations, all of that. As a blank canvas that this piece of real estate is, we have an opportunity to do something really special and make it special for this community. That's our goal.
Yeah, and with the 80 acres, we think like unity of design, like you're
Yes.
saying, like we want everything to feel like it's on purpose and put together
Yes.
and not just big boxes.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that that's not a legal requirement that we have, but it's much appreciated when a developer comes in and makes and keeps promises and works together with the citizens in the town. It's great when that outcome really comes out as everyone in the community envisioned it. So I just wanted to make sure you knew how important that is to our community.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and, the market's gonna dictate quite a bit, as we all know. And in order for us to go to market, we gotta get your confidence. and that's what we're here for.
We've got one more comment, Commissioner
Just one
Spiegel.
last comment. So I really appreciate the walkability, bikeability. That is definitely a priority of mine, and I think this board's too. And that would be, as Commissioner LoPiccolo said, it'd be very important to tie in all phases of the development. And I don't think this is really for you guys, but unfortunately, that site, there is no way you could ever walk or bike to that site. It's extremely dangerous. So, you know, it's a start making, that's absolutely, like, we want to make the shopping area walkable and bikeable, but how do we, and maybe this is something we think about as a town, how do we tie that into the rest of the community where there's no, what, you'd have to drive there to get there? I don't even think you could cross the street at this point.
If I think if the dead end in this hypothetical, if that dead end does come in, I think that would provide a better access point for walkability beyond that point. Could tie into even the trail behind the airport, if that's allowed, and wrapping back into the town. So there is opportunity for that, and making that intersection better for the community once that goes through. My concern is the timing between when that intersection is finally put in and when the development starts to really
Yes.
ramp up. Because that's really, I think, going to really may create issues with traffic at that intersection, so.
Yes, well, we will have a traffic impact analysis done, which would probably foster some off-site improvements on our part from Highway 101. So,
Has DOT mentioned a timeline for when that bypass would be put in?
the 101
bypass?
relocation?
Yeah,
No, sir.
no,
And of course, that has to happen before they extend the runway.
sure.
So the priority is the relocation of 101 before they can extend it 1,000 feet.
Kyle, do we have any visibility on that? No.
All right, well, we want to thank you. We've got a full agenda unless there's any further questions. Mr. Barron, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in the future and hearing more about this
God bless.
project.
God bless, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now we're going to move on to items for discussion and consideration. The first one is the Beaufort Club, and is the status of the secondary access. Unfortunately, Mr. Said is not going to be able to join us today. He had an emergency, but I guess the staff can go ahead and give us an overview as to what that looks like today.
Yes, ma'am, I'll give it a swing, but I'd ask Kyle to come to the podium with me if he doesn't mind. And so, we do have our fire chief in the audience and our fire marshal with us. And for an update for the community, there were two conversations pertinent to the Beaufort Club, one dating back to September of '25. And there was a request for what would be labeled as a secondary emergency entrance exit only, for fire service, EMS, and police to access the, if you will, the lower third of the Beaufort Club, and that would be on Cedar Avenue. And then there was a follow-up that occurred in first quarter of 2026 where Mr. Said came in and indicated that he wanted to research an alternative option and then would provide a primary, what would be considered a permanent second entrance exit that would traverse through Kevin Court and then connect to the back side or the west side of the property. Staff followed up with the developers to understand where they were in that process and then asked them to come obviously give an update today. And as the mayor indicated, they do have a family medical emergency. So we'll do our very best to share that to our knowledge, and I'll ask our fire chief that's in position here today to verify that the emergency entrance exit actually proceeded and the construction occurred. And so there is a connection from Cedar into Beaufort. So from a head nod, Chief Pendergraph, is it operational and you tested it that you were confident that your apparatus can travel that entrance and exit? So that's where we are today, and I believe if Mr. Gardner doesn't have additional information to share, that I think Mr. Said was going to tell you that that's where they are, and that I believe that they have abandoned the concept for Kevin Court. They had received some information from residents and concerns, but they'd also received additional cost analysis and needs from NCDOT. Well, that's where we believe they are today. Now, for Beaufort Club, the purpose of that second entrance exit, which was originally identified in September of last year for the emergency exit, was a requirement of this board to move forward with the plus or minus 78 homes in the section of development referred to as the enclave. We believe that as a checking of the boxes, that the developer has moved through that process, and that is now currently in position. Again, I believe that this will be a gated entrance exit that will be permissible for emergency services to come and go. We anticipate, the presentation was supposed to be today with a full explanation and a Q&A, but I believe that the developers will now come in the month of July seeking their final plat. Is that accurate, Kyle? Is there anything else that, from your professional perspective, that they would be lacking in advance of that final plat?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's where we are as a global update. I want to point out to the board and for the community, unless I've been mistaken, I placed in writing back to the developers today that is the intent of the town of Beaufort to hold them accountable for a permanent second entrance and exit prior to any additional homes being issued or any additional permits being issued outside of the enclave, because we feel that our first responsibility is to the residents that already call Beaufort Club home. We want to make sure it's safe for them to live, enter, and exit into their investment, as well as the opportunity for our emergency services to reach you as residents. So I pray that I'm accurate in that statement that I sent out in writing, and can you back me up on that one, sir?
100%. And I kind of like this when other people get to speak for me and they're right on target. So he's, but yes, I think what Mr. Zapp shared with you is exactly where we are. The applicant, the property owners have submitted for their final plat for the enclave, which will go to the planning board in July. And then we'll go to the Board of Commissioners in August. So it is on your, they have been submitted.
So Matt, are you saying that the final plat would not be approved until they construct the second entrance, or they just wouldn't build any more homes until they construct the second entrance?
So now that the requirement that you had, Commissioner, was that they had to have the emergency access in prior to submittal, and they did that.
Okay.
So now where they are in their final plat is the 78-plus lots that Mr. Zapp was referring to. That is it. And when we mean that is it, that is what they have. They do not have another access point, nor has this board committed any other sewer allocation to them. So what they have is what they have. And Mr. Zapp has communicated that in order to get any of these other things, the additional access point, wherever they find it, is going to be predicated on any further approvals.
Any further questions about this topic?
I just want to make a comment that I appreciate the board's been working on this, the town's been working on this really diligently. I also want to make a comment to the residents of Cedar and to Kevin Court. The town, because these roads, I believe, are DOT roads, the town really doesn't have the right to stop access through these roads to Mr. Said's property. So we have limited ability to say to Kevin Court, although this has been abandoned, that we cannot have access at that level or at that location. So it's not the board's, unfortunately, it's not the board's responsibility. They've reached out to the board members regarding this, but we cannot physically or legally stop that from a road from entering those properties, because they are DOT roads, and if they're tied into that property, it's allowed. We do want to see that an access point is put in at a later date. We are very much on board with that and need that to happen. Where that goes in is up to Mr. Said.
Any further comments? Okay, thank you. Not today, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not today. I apologize. Commissioner Cooper?
Yes, I know we have been after this developer for quite a long time in terms of placing a second access road out there for the residents. And irregardless of whether DOT owns it or whomever owns it, those residents out there do deserve that road, that second road, because the traffic is increasing, and that's a safety hazard. And we should be able to try to work something out with the developer, and if we have to also, as well as get DOT involved. Because we've been asking, I know I've been always asking him about putting in that second road, and he's always was able to somewhat sing and dance around it, claiming this or that he does not have that responsibility, but he does. And I think we should hold his feet to the fire on that.
Great. Commissioner Gilligan?
I just want to tack on to Commissioner LaPiccolo's comment about us not being able to affect where the access is. I think we should still express our opinions and hear the opinions of the citizens and perhaps voice it to DOT, but I just want to make it very clear to the public that I would not be in favor in any permanent access being on Cedar Ave. That is a very, very dangerous spot. I grew up across from it for 20-some years, and it is a very dangerous spot that would put the public at large, that it would really cause safety issues there. So I just wanted to let folks know that may live on Cedar Ave, or folks that come around that corner and would be concerned about that. I'd be concerned about looking out for the safety of Beaufort Club residents while also considering the access, because we don't need to increase, or decrease safety there by using a location like that.
And I believe Cedar Ave, we designated as emergency access, but we did put provisions on it so that in case of hurricane or something of that nature, it would be left open
Yes,
to
an
allow for the residents
an
to
extenuating
enter and exit. So that
circumstance.
would really be the only increase in traffic through that street.
All right, any further comments? All right, thank you very much. This was just really designed to give us an update on the situation. So now we're going to move on to number 2. It is the Bunch Road Withdrawal Cedar Street closure request. The next item is concerning a request involving the Bunch Road. And once we get everybody clearing out, we'll turn this over to Councilor Ari Grady.
Mayor, good afternoon. I hope you and the commissioners are doing well. This is my agenda item, quote unquote, but it involves a request to close Bunch Road, which you've got a map in your agenda packet. It's basically a road that was depicted on an old plat of the property. It has never been accepted by the town. It's never been asphalted, paved, or otherwise maintained by the town, and there is a statutory process in Chapter 160A that would allow the town to, quote unquote, close that old road. It's a fairly robust process. The board would touch the matter multiple times throughout the process. We have to adopt a couple of different resolutions. A public hearing is required, and notice must be given to adjoining landowners. And the point is that if we close a road, we want to make sure that we're not leaving someone without legal access to their property. So tonight we would request direction from the board whether to move forward with the process or not, and we've got a representative here for Mr. Phil Lewis who's made the request, and Mayor, with your permission, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Lewis.
My name's John Harris. I'm
Oh,
an
you said
attorney.
he was Phil Lewis?
I'm the attorney for Phil Lewis.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Phil
John-
couldn't
Johnson
be here
Morton.
tonight, but Ari and I have been discussing this little issue, and I want to give you a background. I've got my associate Charlie King here with me as well, and I may be referring to him very briefly, but to sort of wrap this up as a whole, Mr. Lewis purchased 6 or 7 different parcels from the state of North Carolina. When the Bunch Road, as shown in the red area, before the bypass was in, went by Calvary Baptist Church and connected to 101. And that is how, there were 4 or 5 houses on Bunch Road, and that's how they exited and used that road for their access to get to 101. There's not another way that they can get out. When the bypass went in, it was a controlled highway, And therefore, the state had to end up purchasing the entire lots because there was no access to those lots and for those people. So they all sold their property, whether they were happy about it or not, I don't know, but they all sold their property to the state in probably 2013, 2012, 2013. The road to bypass got built. The state ended up getting a deed for the entire properties, whereas usually they get a right-of-way that they need, but they had to end up buying all of those through the condemnation process. Just recently, this spring, Mr. Lewis, who owns other property adjacent to 101, ended up negotiating with the state to purchase all of those tracts himself. So he is the owner of every one of those with the arrows on it. Palco may own one or two, which is a single-member LLC, but the rest of them are owned in his individual name. So he owns everything all around that road, and when he got the deed from the state, the deeds referenced the lots, but not the road, because they didn't buy the road. We did a little investigation to see, well, you know, what existed, how long has this road been there? We were able to go to GIS and pull up a GIS map from 2013, and it actually looks like it was paved all the way across there before the bypass got put in. I don't know that. I do know now it's not in use and hasn't been in use since the bypass was put in there. So what we're just asking, by the way, when we pulled up the POW map from 2024, which is the latest map for Beaufort, the POW bill map shows the roads that the town, it maintains that they can get funds for. This road, in the latest one, showed the north side of Bunch Road that goes by the church as in the POW bill map, and it has a little notation on the south side where we're talking about here that it was removed on July 15th, 2019. So it was taken out, presumably by the town, from the POW bill records for maintenance of roads in 2019. We believe at that time there should have been a withdrawal from dedication or a closing of the street, but it just never happened. So what we're asking is, of course, when he owns all that, it affects his ability to use that land without having that access there. And honestly, it's not a street the town is going to maintain in any way or wants to maintain. There is a water line, I have been told, in that area that doesn't service anyone. But if there's a water easement that's needed to service, I can imagine who it would service. But if there is a water line there, the statute provides that easements can be preserved for that. So what we're just asking is that pursuant to the statute on abandonment, the town proceed with getting this off of their perceived street map. Now, you're not maintaining it now, and what's the disadvantage to you doing that? I honestly don't know what the disadvantage is. You don't have a piece of property you can do anything with. You do have a piece of property that can create liability to you. So I think for cleaning up the records, if you abandon that piece of property, then we, as the property owners, Mr. Lewis, can take the necessary steps to acquire ownership to that property, either through your abandonment or through other means, and then have a cohesive piece of property there. So we're asking that you do proceed through the statutory step to abandon that portion of Bunch Road that shows up on that map right there.
All right, Mr. Harris, I'm going to see if the board has any questions of anybody. Commissioner Matthews?
Just a couple. Ari, maybe this is for you, the first one, but can you explain to me legally the ownership or the oversight or whatever you want to call it for the town of Beaufort with the property in question?
The ownership is a little bit of a question mark, and the reason is there's not a deed or easement out there in favor of the town for this road. And it is possible that if the town did at some point maintain it or asphalt it, that it ripened into ownership through some case law that's out there, and you could call it almost a squatter's rights type of thing, but it's really an offer of dedication and then an acceptance through maintenance concept, and then it becomes owned by the town. The best example would be all the streets around this building. The town does not have a deed for them, but we've maintained the streets quite literally forever, so therefore we own them. The statute that we would use basically says once the road is abandoned / closed by the town, that the ownership reverts to the adjoining properties up to the center line of what would have been the road. So the statutory process, resolves any lingering ownership issues over the road corridor, I guess I will call it. Does that help answer your question?
It does. Just a couple of additional ones. And in taking that action normally by a town and the property conveying then to the surrounding owners, and in this case his client, have towns received anything in the way of compensation for that action, or have they just taken that action? What's the normal course?
No, sir. The town has not been offered anything and have not been involved in any of these over the years in which a municipality has received compensation. As Mr. Harris stated, if we do have utilities in that area, we are entitled under the statute to reserve an easement for those utilities, and that's something we would need to work with Donovan and his team to verify. Of course, this is going to be some expense to the town, both legal fees and also things like posting the notice, publicizing the notice. I have seen municipalities before asked to be reimbursed some of those expenses, particularly the cost of publication and things like that for the notice of hearing. So I have seen that over the years.
And at this point, we do not know if there's a water line that's running on the property?
I don't know, and hey, Donovan's nodding yes. So
what I was told was the surveyor saw water pooling in the road about 2 weeks ago and thought there was a stream or a creek or something under there, and they dug down and hit a metal water line that was leaking. And then they called, it was Cullifer Group, and then they called someone over here, Public Works, and they went out there and determined, yes, it's a water line, and yes, we need to shut it off. And they did. I suspect it serviced those houses that have long since been gone. It doesn't appear to me that they would service anybody. It's certainly not the school property, but that's what I was relayed to by Ryan Cullifer's office.
All right, Donovan, if you have anything to add, can you please step up to the podium? Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Harris.
he's certainly correct. There was a water line over there. There's actually a fire hydrant over there also, so there's at least a 6-inch water line back there. And then I think there's a 2-inch that branches off from that, so that would be galvanized. That they located, and it was leaking, and we had no way of knowing. And so we were glad that someone gave us a call. We did end up shutting it off, but we created a valve, or made a valve on the other side of the road where you see the fire hydrant on the north side. We installed a valve right there. And so we shut it off from that side, so currently the water is shut off on that side because we put in that valve. Of course, in this process that, we can see what else needs to be done, but, the intent was to go back later and make that repair, but, now we can see what we need to do after these proceedings. But, yeah, he's certainly correct. There's a water line back there.
Okay, thank you.
Two
Hold on.
two more quick, these will be fast. The property, the large tract that I'm looking at, I guess that's maybe southeast of the property.
The 38 acres?
Yes, yes.
That's the school property.
That is school property. Okay, so there's no issue there with any of that property. And then my final question is, if the board moved to go through the process, would your client be willing to pay the expenses of the town that would be involved with taking the steps for that process?
I've had a discussion with Phil about that, and I could, I don't want to hold you to this, but I think if you made that a condition, that would be something he would be favorable to.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Gilligan.
So the request is for Mr. Lewis to acquire ownership of the property through abandonment or other means. Ari, can you help with other means? I'm not sure what that means.
Commissioner, if it's okay, I would let Mr. Harris address that.
So if we
Okay.
found an owner of that property, and there's not a deed to the town, if we found John Smith's heirs owned it 50 years ago, and they had a clear, valid title to it, we would track them down and get a deed from them.
Okay,
That's the other means.
Okay.
We've looked and don't see that. So that may or may not be an option. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but that was one option that we could do.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
But by the way, we couldn't do that unless the town abandons their right to that road, because there would still be, we wouldn't want to buy a piece of property and there'd still be some question about what are you guys going to, what, is that a road or not a road?
Okay. Yes.
I have a question. So this is at the intersection of 101 and 70, correct? And we just heard that 101 is going to be moved at some point, but can somebody tell me, is this far enough away that this is not going to impact that, right? Because this is right here, right? So you're right. I do realize it's in the other corner, but I'm just, since I'm not clear about how the 101 thing's going to tie in, I just want to make sure that this doesn't impact anything we just heard from that previous presentation.
We have not been told 101 is, no, that's not going down here. This is the relocation of it. I mean, the intersection of 70 and 101 will still be there.
Right, and they didn't show that in the presentation. They had 101 going up farther north. I just want to be crystal clear that this is not going to impact any of that.
And, Mr. Harris, there's no deeded access currently off of 70, right?
No, it's a
Okay.
controlled,
Controlled.
you can't get to it.
Okay.
You okay? Yeah.
So Donovan, the one thing that we would want to do is to do our analysis and determine if an easement is needed, the width and location of said easement for not only the current serviceability, which we all believe is potentially limited, but it's the future serviceability to the backside of that vacant parcel, which I think Commissioner Matthews was also leaning into. So we would evaluate this as well as have communications with NCDOT to determine if there's any speculative use of this area, and then we would look at what the current condition is of the water line, its placement, and or any future needs, and we can communicate that back to the board and also to the applicant for what would be in the best interest of Beaufort and its utility system.
Okay. Any further follow-up on that one? So the board can continue to discuss this topic. May not need to go anywhere right now, Mr. Harris. But the decision that's being requested is to direct the staff and whether to move forward with this request or not. And I've also heard that we may have a condition on that request. So if you want to continue to deliberate on that, or if you would like to go ahead and, do you want this in form of a motion?
Yes, ma'am, that would
Okay.
be helpful.
Very good.
I'll make a motion that the town evaluate the abandonment of Bunch Road with the condition of coming back with that proposal, along with an estimate of the costs that would be associated with that abandonment for the town of Beaufort.
Okay. And this would be, eventually come back to the board in July potentially, or whenever?
Whenever the board
Board's-
directs, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would you like to have that direction as well?
I'm certain we could evaluate it internally and have it back before the board for discussion by the July work session, if that's okay.
That's fine. Just want to give you enough time to do what you need to do. Don't
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
rush you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Ms. Harris, appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to the Camp and Road Widen and Resurfacing Project. We've got Mr. Zapp on that.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. You'll see that there is an excerpted GIS map available to you in your packet and also included above on the screens. This section of Campen Road is from Live Oak to the intersection of Caraway, the 100 block of that portion of roadway. The dominant width of that section of Campen Road is currently 20 feet. The engineering analysis had planned for this road to go to 23 feet, which mates the furthest extent of the road as it continues on past the intersection at Caraway. And the importance of this is for overall ingress egress. It would support traffic patterning that flows to Caraway to support the schools. There has been the underground utilities repairs made here, and the reason that the town had paused the widening and asphalt replacement of this section of roadway was to complete the work that was all associated with USDA. That amount of work has been completed, and the engineering team with USDA at Rivers and our internal team have gone out to secure informal bids. We have those bids included in your packet. Our recommendation this afternoon, since I confirmed one more time at 3:30 with Greg Mashaw that we are complete with that amount of work, and I conferred with Rivers and Associates Stephen Reese this morning to triple check, because the last thing that we would want to do is disturb our residents on Campen Road one more time to have to come back and or cut new asphalt. We are now cleared to come back with edge-to-edge pavement replacement. The recommendation before you is to select Coastline Contracting at a cost estimated at $100,000, and that would be to replace the current existing asphalt and expand it to the even side of the street by an additional 3 feet. There is sufficient roadway and right-of-way between that edge current of asphalt, the ditch line, and then the corresponding sidewalk that runs parallel to the street.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Zapp? Commissioner Spiegler?
Matt, did you say the widening would take place on the, which side of the street?
Even.
Okay, so there is a large tree across, almost across from the parking lot at CVS. So that would not be, and it's right next to the road.
To my knowledge, I don't understand, or don't believe, or don't have the understanding that any additional trees would need to be removed on that side of the roadway at this point, and if so, we would come back to the board.
Okay, that's what I would request, that if that needs to happen, then we would reconsider the request.
Okay. Any further comments, questions?
And this road is crowned both sides, so water will be draining evenly on each side?
I would defer to engineering as to if the full extent is crowned 100%, and I wouldn't want to speak out of turn on that. The ditch dominantly is, if you will, on the easterly side of the street, which contains, in my my professional but non-PE stamped approval, that the dominant flow of water is held there. And I can tell you from past experience that open ditches have a greater hydraulic flow and a greater opportunity to hold water than a ditch or than a culvert pipe situation. So to your direct point, I believe that's where a majority of that water flows.
Although there is some requested action to be taken on this, if you approve it tonight, the staff is wanting to coordinate that construction with the project that is completed prior to that. But just want to get direction on the board on how to where you would like to proceed, whether you would like to take care of this tonight, or would you like to add this to your Board of Commissioners meeting?
For a point of order on that, the purpose of taking action today is to complete that construction work and asphalt before school starts, because this was brought to our attention at great length with the diverted traffic associated with the NCDOT's roundabout. And we provided a public update today, public information provided an update on the roundabout traffic, lane closures, and additional disruptions. We have communicated with the principals, and one of our goals is to try to get this, if possible, and I want to be clear, it may not be physically possible based on weather and conditions to get it completed before school, but it would be helpful because we know that there has been the Town of Beaufort's work through USDA, the NCDOT's disruption with the roundabout, and then our good friends at Duke also coordinated a tremendous amount of improvements to the electric system, all in the same jurisdiction. And while I have some of our residents here today, I want to make you aware that there may be an additional transmission line style replacement occurring in this area. There's just a lot of work in this whole zone, and we're trying to piece it all together with the least amount of disruption to the people that consider this area home and have to travel it daily.
Matt, can you also speak to, so there is a sidewalk on, I think, the east side of Campen, but not on the west. Can you speak to
Do you want to
why
pull the
it would
GIS up?
not be possible to put in a sidewalk on that side?
At this point, the commissioner is inquiring about, is there an opportunity on the westerly side of the road to have a mated, or if you will, a reflective sidewalk situation where we're starting to run out of right-of-way there. And if we'll pull it up, you can type in 109 Campen Road if you want, and that'll pull you to the intersection of Campen and Caraway. And you'll be able to see the crosswalk area that is currently installed, and you can see where the sidewalk is on, if you will, on our screens, the right-hand side. That's the width of roadway that you can see, that you have green space between edge of sidewalk, ditch, and then sidewalk. And so I think what Commissioner Spiegler is asking is there sufficient room to place a sidewalk on the left-hand side of this pictorial image, or what would be the westerly side? And not that anything is impossible, it would have a little bit of cost to do. You can theoretically do it, but right now you currently have sidewalk on a singular side. That gets tighter as you get down towards, so. But if you scroll down for us, Elizabeth, back towards CVS, scroll backwards, and you'll start to, you can zoom back in, and that, you see where the right-of-way is representative. I want to point out that that's a representative image line, but if you go back towards CVS, you'll see that it gets tight. In Commissioner Spiegler, I'm not sure which tree you're referring to, but see how there's no trees near that roadway edge within the first 3 feet? Is there one that I'm not aware of?
It's across the street.
It's on the odd side.
But I mean on the pictorial, if it's on the odd side, it's not impacted. We're only widening on the even side.
It's farther down towards CVS, but yes, it should be on the side with no sidewalk.
Okay, so then we're okay.
Okay.
So it's the side with the sidewalk that would receive the extended asphalt. So you're opposite side of the street. And I don't anticipate any obstructions, and I'm not that I physically walked it and measured it with Sam Bell, so we were trying to find a solution that would provide the greatest level of safety with the least amount of impact, and I think we have found that.
Well, I would make a motion to go forward with the road widening with the condition that if any trees do have to be removed, that you come back to the board first with that before approval.
Alrighty. And I just have one comment before I call for the question, is that Commissioner Spiegler and I were on a phone conversation. I had a phone call with an organization that has worked with other communities to try to slow traffic down, which is one of the things we'd like to be able to see done on Campen Road. It gets quite busy and people are going pretty fast. But one of the things that they spoke about, and Commissioner Spiegler, if you want to just chime in on this to make sure I haven't messed this up, is that sometimes planting trees would somehow be able to create that optic that will slow things down. Now, I know this is totally off topic, but would there be any possibility, if we can get staff to take a look at if there's any possibility of maybe planting a few trees to hopefully utilize that theory to maybe slow some things down?
They actually said that trees are the best traffic calming device that you can use. There are others you can use as well, but that's the best one.
Yeah. So that was news to us. But let me see what's going on here. Oh, and a budget amendment would be corresponding with the action if you decide to move forward with this today. So, Commissioner Spiegler, did you want to include that budget amendment into her motion?
Yeah, that'll be.
Okay,
I should, right?
yes.
Yes. So I will amend my previous motion to include the budget amendment number 24 from the Capital Reserve Fund. Is that sufficient?
And 48.
And 48.
Is that, no?
Oh, and
no,
8. And 8.
I can't see nothing.
I thought it was a 4. We're in good company. I had put my glasses
We
back.
both need to do our eye appointments together.
Did you want to say,
Just-
I think
just
Dexter
a
and I may want to say
Yes.
something.
And what will that bring the balance of the fund to in using it?
Currently, it's 1.3 million.
Okay, all right. And so this would come out of that, and we are talking about, obviously, option 1. Is that correct?
With coastline.
With,
Yes.
with coastline, yes.
Just for clarity, yeah.
We will also look at if there need to be any field adjustments made because our prices are so volatile based on asphalt, that if there's any concerns or issues, we would come back to you. But that's why we're asking for the flexibility.
Right.
Okay.
I guess I have another question as we're thinking about this. So this road is used by students a lot because it goes from the schools over to the library. So we have the sidewalk, but are there any plans, and would it be now or would it be later, to do any sort of like bike lane in the road as well, knowing that there are a lot of students that ride their bikes as well? Or is that a?
If you're looking to me to answer it, I can answer you based on the safety protocol, that if I resided on the street, I would be appreciative of the sidewalk that exists, and I would instruct my youngins to stay on the sidewalk. From a cyclist's perspective, cyclists share the roadway, and so there isn't sufficient width to necessarily add. The bike lane is designed at 23 feet, because if that's the case, an adult cyclist would ride with the flow of traffic. And so we would share the roadway. So I'm a advocate, as you are, and would think of those opportunities everywhere else we can. But in this particular case, you saw some shakings of heads in the audience. I would suggest that with the volume of flow, that we try to direct our non-vehicular access to the sidewalk that exists. Probably is the safest.
As if you're an adult, you should be riding in the road.
With the flow of traffic.
With the flow of
But
traffic, correct.
But speaking specific to the children that would be middle school and/or elementary age, that sidewalk provides them that access. And then we have the crosswalk, which would be due north of the Caraway Campen intersection. That would be on the school side, and then it leans it to the safest pathway possible, based on the analysis with Public Works, Engineering, and PD at that place. And I would ask Paul Chief Burdette, if I've spoken outside of my lane, not to be, no pun intended, if there's anything else you would recommend that we do in that area, because you were part of the analysis team. Yes, sir, you did. Okay, thank you.
All right, so we've got a motion on the floor, coastline contracting. Both amendments have been added into that motion. And any further comments or questions before I call for the question? All right.
So I would just agree that placing that sidewalk on the other side of the road would be difficult. There's really not any access point for crossing on the other way, on 70 or Live Oak. And even on that corner, it's going to get really tight because I know we're doing work there, removing that tree and so forth for DOT purposes. That road is narrow. It definitely needs addressing. I've driven that road many times, dropping kids off in the morning. It definitely needs to be widened for safety. I agree with Commissioner Spiegler. High-dense areas like this would be great to have additional sidewalks. I just don't think that road would be able to tolerate it. And then also on top of that, it would add an additional runoff onto that area there with decreased permeability too. So there's that to think about as well. I think it might even affect, there's a tree as you get closer to, what road is that, Crescent, that looks like it may be affected as well.
That's the
so.
tree I think that
Yes.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Spiegler was referencing.
It's
We're-
right next to the road.
Just for
So I
everyone's
think-
edification, that particular tree is an inhibitor into the drainage field, and Public Works asked to take that tree out, and I denied that request, just so you know. Placement of that sidewalk would
Yeah.
more than likely take that tree out or cause it to come substantially up out of the way, and that tree is very mature and very old, and we want to preserve and protect that. That's why I was curious if there was one we missed on the even side, so I was highly concerned, because we want to protect that one that you have the photograph of for sure. And on that same line, if you were to get to the intersection where the sidewalk would terminate at Caraway, we can't cross the ditch there. There's a conflict with multiple utilities that restricted the ability for that intersection or that edge of roadway to be widened. And DOT reconfirmed that within the last 4 weeks, because we asked again, we said, well, if we ask again and we ask it differently, can we get a different answer? And we were denied again. Which is resulting in us cleaning up the line of sight at Caraway and Campen. And so there are conflicts there that are extremely difficult to deal with the sanitary sewer.
But I am for moving this ahead. I think it'd be important to get all the people who live on that street on Campen have dealt with quite a bit of construction in the past, and now with the cut-through that people are taking with the roundabout, I think we can get this moving for them before the school starts, because that's when the pressure really hits on those roads.
So we got a motion on the floor to do just that. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the Front Street speed limit reduction request at NCDOT maintained section, and Mr. Zapp, you're up on that.
Thank you, ma'am. This was a conversation that, if I'm not mistaken, was brought to this board in October of 2022, and at that time, the seated board unanimously agreed to limit the speed limit, or requested DOT to look at a limiting of the speed limit and a reduction from 35 to 25 on that portion of Front Street that leads up to Lennoxville. And we don't know why. There's been a lot of transition, but nothing came of that request. We additionally had another resident voicing their concern about that section of roadway that goes from 25 to 35, and then we do have a lot of work that's occurred there. So staff, PD, administration all agree that it would be suitable to have a consistent 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, including both town-maintained and the state-maintained section of Front Street. If the board sees fit, we would, again, basically copy and paste a letter, change the date and the management team, and resend it and submit it to NCDOT. Very similar to what they did for us on that small section of Cedar. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Chief Burdette can probably assist me if there's something there as well.
Okay, any further questions on that? Comments? Yes, sir.
Excuse me. But do we not own from Cedar on the other side of Big Daddy's straight down to Live
This is
Oak?
Front Street.
Oh, Front Street.
This is Front Street.
I ain't got no problem.
I can make a comment.
Yes,
As a parent of a young child for the past 3 years, walking on Front Street with a stroller and people going 35 miles per hour, it's really fast, and there's no sidewalks. There's no sidewalks on Front Street. So I would be very supportive of decreasing the speed to 25.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a no-brainer. Thus, I'll jump into the motion, make a motion that we request of DOT a speed limit reduction from 35 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour along the DOT maintained section, which is the eastern section.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right.
Thank you, Mayor, and before we move off of this item, we'll bring a formal resolution on the July 13th meeting for this. If it's okay with you, we would ask that we can place it on consent.
Consent agenda?
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Thank you
All
all.
right.
We appreciate your help.
Now we're going to move on to the Beaufort Business Association's 4th of July Parade request.
Hi, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is the Beaufort Business Association's special event permit application for the annual 4th of July parade, which will be held on Saturday, July 4th, 2026. It'll be at 11 a.m. in downtown Beaufort. We received this application on May 28th. Lineup will start at 10:30 a.m., 10 to 10:30 a.m., and then the parade will be at 11. It'll involve the closure of Front Street to Turner Street. Pretty much the same as last year, except for since it's on a Saturday, the Old Beaufort Farmers Market will be operating. So we discussed internally with the police department and with the BBA that the larger floats, instead of being at the courthouse at the end, they will direct them to disperse onto Cedar Street. And then all of the smaller, the walkers and the smaller stuff kind of just disperses along Turner Street. Per the Board of Commissioners 2018 directive, the Town of Beaufort continues to support the 4th of July and Christmas parades by covering staffing and resources costs for this. This year, the estimate is about 16 employees between the police department and other staff members who will be responsible for road closures of Front and Turner Street, barricades, solid waste services, restroom restocking, street sweeping afterwards, vehicles in the parade, and this year the placement of our new mobile stage as a viewing station for you all on Front Street. And then the request for action is for you to consider this application for approval as submitted by the BBA. Do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you, Jen. Any questions about the application for the 4th of July parade? Okay. Seeing that there is none, what is the pleasure of the board?
I move we present this BBA parade application as presented.
You want to approve this application?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Sorry,
That's
for approval,
exactly what I
sorry.
heard. All right, so we've got an approval for this application, a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same. We should probably approve it because it's, what,
Thank
next
you.
couple of weeks?
We'll see you there.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're going on to the FY 2026 Budget Amendment Number 7.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
A budget amendment number 7 for you tonight. It has a couple of different funds, so we can take a look at each one of those, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any. First of all, in the general fund, the total for this budget amendment is $263,910. And then in the utility fund, $128,319, and then in the stormwater fund, $44,829. And if you'd like, we can run through the items that covers, or I can just answer questions if you prefer.
Let's try with just answering questions because we all love the numbers, but let's get straight to the point. Any questions for Christie? Go ahead, one. Go ahead, Commissioner Matthews.
Yeah, just one or two. The 22,000 is reimbursement to the county for current collection. Do you have a number on the total amount that we're paying the county for currently for collection?
Yes, sir. So to date, we've paid for this fiscal year, we've paid the county $143,000. The county charges a 2% collection fee on the revenues that they collect for the town. And that's current year taxes, prior year taxes, and stormwater fees, because those are billed on the tax bill.
And that's for staff with the county. And what would it cost the town if the town was taking on those duties?
So I do believe it would cost more than what you're currently paying. You would need to have a staff position, you need a place for them, and you'd
Right.
also need the associated software for billing and for tracking those. So maybe around $250,000 is a rough estimate to where that number might need to go.
Thank you.
Before you look at that.
I'm good. I have one other question. The 200,000 that's being requested, whatever the difference between the cost less than the 200,000, the remainder would go into fund balance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. You're speaking about item number 3?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. And that goes for any of these budget amendments. If all of the money's not needed to be appropriated, expenses come in below revenue, then we wouldn't need to appropriate any of that. But this does cover everything, so we make sure we're compliant for the audit, that the budget's compliant for the audit at the end of the year.
And normally that's a budgeted line item that we look at each year. So I assume that, as we've discussed, it was budgeted, but you had some circumstances that resulted in the cost being higher, correct?
Sure, for the accruals that we do at year end, and also for vacation payouts for, we had a couple staff members retire. The payouts we didn't budget for last year, but those are things that would add to those numbers at year end.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I know in the past, in previous boards, when I've served on those, we've always asked the question, when is it going to be more cost prohibitive to deal with the county and take it on as a town? And we have always been very mindful, meaning you, that we would take a look at that topic when it's time, and sometimes it just hasn't been the time. It's just going to cost a lot more. So we have talked about that in the past and wanted to keep an eye on that, because at some point in time, if it's going to cost too much and it's easier for us to do it, costs less for us to do it, then we can pull that trigger. But another thing, I did have a question about collections. They have a collection agency so that they would go after those that are in arrears? Is that how it works with the county? Is that something we would have to incur if we took it over, is what I'm saying?
We would be responsible for collecting and making arrangements. The county does offer arrangements for tax payments. I'm not sure if they outsource their collections, but I do know that our collection percentage is pretty high. It's usually above 98%, so I think they do a pretty good job.
Pretty good job? Okay. Very good. Any further questions for Christie? None down here, none down there. Okay. So there is a request to approve a budget amendment number 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget amendment number 7 as presented.
Okay, have a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. You have a capital budget amendment number 2, so don't go nowhere. That's Cedar Street rehab and replacement.
Yes, ma'am. So this budget amendment, the project's complete and there are some funds remaining, so we just need to do a cleanup and close out and transfer the funds that are remaining of $90,790 back to the utilities fund. So this is, budget amendment number 2 is closing that project fund, and then you actually just approved receiving the money in budget amendment number 7 to the utility fund.
All righty. Any questions about that? Commissioner Cooper?
Just one quick. Where we said we putting this money back into where?
And into the utilities fund.
To the utility fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve capital project budget amendment number 2.
Okay. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to go on to stormwater project budget amendment number 2.
Similar situation to the previous one. These were funds that were specifically allocated for stormwater project, and that project has been completed. So we're just going to put this back in your stormwater fund, and it's $44,829. Budget Amendment number 7 received these funds back into the stormwater fund, so when future projects arise, this money will be in the fund balance available for you to appropriate.
Okay. Any further questions about Budget Amendment number 2 for stormwater project? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the stormwater project amendment number 2.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy, appreciate that. Now we're going to move on to the FY '27 priorities matrix.
Thank you, ma'am. What we're talking here is the council spent 2 days at a retreat in January prior to our winter storm 2026. And at that retreat, the council identified a series of 16 projects that were put on our priorities list, and we wanted to go over that priorities list, see if there's anything that you wanted to have deleted or items that you wanted to have updated. And from a staff's perspective, we have highlighted items number 14 and 16. There's more information that came out about item 14 pertinent to placement of a water treatment plant that may hinder our ability to move forward with investigation of this land. And then item number 16 was resolved a month or 2 ago. So we would recommend removal of 16 and 14. And then if there's any additional items that have come to the attention of the board that you would like to see added since our January retreat to today, these are items that we would be focused on, funded, and look to achieve between July 1st and June 30th of this coming fiscal year.
All right, got any questions? Commissioner Gilligan?
Not a question, just a suggestion.
Okay.
So I think you probably already know this, Matt, but I would like to see, we're taking one tree thing off, but I'd like to add a tree thing. We budgeted for some trees, and we've run into some circumstances where some trees have been in not so fortunate locations. So I would like to see an assessment of where the trees could potentially go and the implementation of the planting. And that was what, $15,000 that we allocated for that, I think?
Christie, the current, yeah, she's triple checking it. Yes, I believe that
Yeah, I believe- Yeah, I
we
think
settled on
that's right.
15,000.
We had 15,000 last year, those unspent, and then 15,000 this year. So if we'd like, well, I guess that money went into the general fund.
It
but-
did, and this board talked about it only expending 15,000 in the next fiscal year.
And the second thing I would like to see is give the navigable waterways ordinance a look and see what's working and what's not working, and adjust if we see fit, maybe talk to some other communities like Brunswick County that has had this similar ordinance in place for a while, and also flesh out what the commissioner expectations are for using the ordinance.
So I
applying the ordinance.
apologize, I should have mentioned that the first 2 pages of the handout we have given you today
Yeah.
are the matrix. Page 3 was the feedback provided by Commissioner Spiegler, and page 4 has exactly what Commissioner Gillikin has verbalized as bullet points. So if you want,
Okay.
we copied the emails and included that. So I see people trying to make notes as fast as possible. It's all in print for you. If you choose to add any of these, we can just add.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I buried the lead. My apologies.
Matt, thank you for putting this together and bringing it back to our attention. I agree with the 2 yellow highlighted ones that you said to remove, and then, as Commissioner Gillikin said, to update the tree one to some sort of townwide tree planting strategy. I had that in my list too. What about number 3, the utility rate analysis? Y'all did a great job on that. Is that something that there's more to do over the next year?
Considering it's 100% progress, right?
Yeah, so sometimes we like to catch the winds when they fall out of the sky,
Yeah.
so it's okay to leave it. We spend a tremendous amount of time there.
Absolutely.
But the next ask was a deeper dive into capital improvement planning, which was part and parcel. But we were trying to show that we had developed a balanced budget, was what you had targeted us or assessed us to do in January. And we fortunately have passed that. And then the utility rate analysis, which took quite a few meetings, and we did And I believe you did a tremendous job in getting us here, so we've checked that box. And so if it's okay, we would ask that you leave 3, and if you want to add improvements of capital improvement planning to the CIP, then we would reference back to something similar to what the process that we engaged in for utilities, but yes.
Yes, I guess I just meant like, should that one be highlighted in yellow too? But on my list, I actually have review of capital improvement plan, so I think that's a great suggestion to add that. I
also-
do, one thing that's kind of in there too, and everyone's gonna do this, the new water plant, does that need to, the initial investigation, does that need to happen over the next year, or do we push that off another year?
I think that needs to be done.
So staff-wise, that is my recommendation, because we've already forwarded out an email today to capture what you just said. It was July of 2025 when Sam Bell, our engineer, pulled the analysis from the water treatment plant, that historical analysis, and emailed it. We didn't do anything with that over the past 12 months. If we put it on this list, then it gives us an opportunity, and this is the list that I would work off of at a workshop session, give it to the board and say, here's the maneuvers, here's the movement, here's the questions, and then we'll use this as our guiding, this will be our GPS to get us to June 30th. So I would highly recommend that we do that, because once we identify where that treatment plant needs to go, then we can identify when do we need it, where, all that is tied into its location. And then that answer parlays back into item 14 that's currently being tabled or paused, potentially.
Right, I was going to add to that, the Thomas Simpson land investigation may still be a necessary thing, and I don't know if we want to pull that, because if we end up doing the assessment for the wastewater treatment plant and find that that's not the optimized location, we may still want to look at that. That land may also have and tie into whether or not the town wants to increase open space or parks and rec in our community if we start thinking long-term down the road. So to me, big picture thing is the wastewater treatment flow plant analysis, really looking at our tree canopy and our community. I appreciate Commissioner Spiegler and Commissioner Gillikin including that as well. And then looking at kind of long-term what we need for our community as far as open space, and then possibly tying that into the wastewater, the water treatment facility. So,
Just to add, if I could just add on to that, a number of the items are really infrastructure items that we're talking about, and having them updated in the capital improvement plan, definitely in more detail to be updated. That all ties into economic development, and those items have to be done as a part of economic development. I would add one, and I think, Matt, maybe you've had an opportunity to look at that, but the last time we did a roadway assessment, asphalt assessment across the town, I know we've got so many items currently that are being done because of the infrastructure work that's been done. But I continually hear about different areas of town where work needs to be done on the roads. I understand that was looked at a number of years ago, but I don't think it's been updated. But Matt, if you can speak to that, if it hasn't been done, then in my mind, it needs to be updated.
So it's a document that has been done per Greg Michaud and Sam Bell. Obviously, when we move forward, if we bid out $4 to $5 million of work in our USDA asphalt project, then the whole document is going to need updated. And so our anticipation internally would have been to update that in the spring of '27, no matter what, if it's on the list or not. So placing it on the list just puts it on your radar. No objections to it, and we'll gladly do that. But there is a reference document in possession.
Okay. Thank you. Sure. And yes, I think it should be at least the process of updating that be done. We've got to have priorities set with so many different areas that have work. We need to have a priority as to which ones need to be done first, and I think that's vitally important.
I can cut to the chase, all of them.
Yeah.
So whoever we speak to, it will be every road, but you're going to want to know alligator cracking, age of infrastructure, if it's a repair, if it's a permanent replacement, width of road, estimated cost, and that is an exhaustive document. But I know that when you're at the produce aisle at the grocery, it's going to be all of them, right? So we'll gladly give you that document, and then we share that document publicly. And I want to advise that when you do that, if my road is below someone else's road, then that creates a lot of energy at the time of release. So this is a premonition of what's to come, but it's absolutely critical.
Yep.
And then
I
you can
understand
attack,
that.
then
And
then
I
we
also
attack each
understand
road.
I also understand there's limited resources,
Yes,
so
sir.
you've got to prioritize.
Absolutely.
All right, so when it comes down to the matrix, we can have further discussion. It seems like people have already put in some valuable input into this. Thank you for sending your emails in and making sure the staff understands where we are heading. This is really a review and discussion of the matrix, not necessarily looking for any kind of decision tonight, but would like to know if you would like to move this forward to the July 13th as an item of discussion or a consent item.
You need a motion
I'm just, thumbs up on consent or,
to move forward, adding these to the
Yes.
discussion, yes.
Yeah.
I need greater clarity.
Yeah, I
as-
think
we need,
I
I
think
need,
they
ex-
need to circulate beforehand.
Yeah, I
maybe
need
this
clarity as
list,
to what needs to be
and
added.
kind of each of us kind of maybe can rank the list of what we see. Is that
You've already
something we
ranked the list.
Okay.
And you did all that in January, which is why we're just trying to, it doesn't matter where it lands on your list. So I would ask for the first action. Would you
Okay.
like items 14 and 16 removed, yes or no?
Yes.
'Cause I'm not sure everyone
No,
wants them
I-
all
I
removed.
don't.
So
I don't, because I do think that we may still need 14.
the pro-
And I think it's on hold. I don't think it's something we're going to be investigating right away, but it's on hold.
So with all due respect to you as my colleague and supervisor, I want to share with you that when this conversation came up, we would need to expend $3,500 plus or minus up to $5,000 to do evaluation of that land, and we were told no. And so to put an item on this list, you would not only be in favor of the item, but you would include funding to move it to the next step, because if it stays at 0% because we have no funding, what I wouldn't want to have happen is you ask me 12 months from today, Mr. Zapp, you didn't do anything with item X. So if we're going to maintain item 14, we would have to allocate or be aware that there would need to be an expense associated with that investigation.
I think this gets to what we've discussed previously, like maybe it goes in the medium-term list. To me, this is the short-term, what's happening over the next year. And I even did a little notes to myself, like medium-term, long-term. I think, for me, I would think, yes, that doesn't go off our radar, but maybe it's in the medium-term, like the next 2 years.
Okay.
And maybe
That'd be
next year we
great.
say, okay, we need to put it back on the list, or we say, nope, we keep it off the list again.
Or keep it on the medium-term
Or
list.
keep it on the
Yes,
medium-term
that-
list.
That's a great analogy to bring. So you would have a list that's 0 to 12 months, one that's up to 24 months, that's your B list, and then the 36-month outlook is really your C. So you have your immediate, your intermediate, and your long-term. So if it's okay, I can start to work on those. If you don't mind, we could move 14 to the intermediate list. That'd be
That'd be
very
fine.
helpful.
14 to intermediate and 16 off.
Yes, ma'am.
Totally.
Is that okay?
It's
I
fine.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
it's fine. with me.
Be great.
all right, we've got a consensus on that.
Okay. And then for items that you'd like to add, I saw or felt that a tree planting strategy is obviously extremely important to all of us and the community. If you're in favor, we can easily add that. Any objection to that, Mayor?
I have no objections.
No objections.
Okay. Then the next item was the navigable waterway. Would you like us to research that? We don't expect much cost. We'll just invest some staff time that we can report back. That's a result of the recent boat that went under. And so when we were looking at the ordinance, was there preemptive movement that we should have taken? And I'm very thankful for the work that PD has done, and we've gotten that cleared right away. But we can evaluate that if that's something that the entire board wants us to do. Sure.
Good. Okay, yes, you got thumbs up here.
And then from my chair, I would also share with you that the capital improvements plan review, after we got through the utilities review, we said, oh, we really need to do this. So I think that that's a reason you didn't prioritize that in January.
Okay.
And we absolutely have learned great experience from that process. And we would want to do something very similar with a small group if you place it on the list. Okay?
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry, I was
So
waiting.
the capital improvement plan review would be added to the list, and we would follow a process very similar if you're in agreement with what we did on item number 3 for utility rate analysis.
All right.
Where we're basically doing the deep dive, trying to think of the unthinkable and make a good workable plan and go through the capital improvement plan holistically, outside of just utilities.
I think that's very important.
So that's everything,
Dexter?
as far as
Ju-
town, docks,
And I'm not
everything.
sure exactly how to put this in, but it's kind of one of those items that it falls under economic development, at least in my mind, and perhaps some steps in the way of coordination with the Beaufort Housing Authority on housing in Beaufort. And it's a question that keeps popping up. Certainly with economic development, workforce housing is something that needs to be considered. And if that's a part of whatever actions we take in economic development, I'm okay, but it needs, in my mind, it needs to be a part of our priorities in the way of working with the housing authority and assessment of the needs that we need within the town for workforce housing.
So before we go, are we in agreement that the CIP review is on the list? I think we
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you're asking or
Yes.
unpacking the economic development
Yes.
component? And
Well, to the extent, we've already got a number of items that would be included within economic development. I think the capital improvement plan is part of that. We're just going to identify it.
But I think I was just slowing down to make sure I had tree planting,
Sure.
navigational waterway, CIP review.
Yep, the update of the roadway asphalt assessment was a part of that. And, go ahead.
That should be a separate item.
If you want to put that on, if that's an item that can't be done until the following year, then it would go on in my mind, then it would go on.
First quarter 27, but I think that,
Intermediate.
let's make that a separate item. I think that's a little bit different than the CIP.
Okay.
If we lump it all in,
Yeah.
then it makes it a little bit more
Okay.
difficult. Is that
All right.
okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because I want to make sure we address that,
Right, right.
if that's okay with you. Yep. So I've now heard adding 4, tree planting strategy, navigable waterway review, CIP comprehensive review, asphalt replacement plan update. Okay. Thank you.
Now,
And finally, this is the Beaufort housing, is the affordable housing.
So I'm not going to step out onto that plank alone, but I will share with you that Beaufort Housing Authority is capped at the number of units it is permissibly allowed to provide.
That's low income.
that's for HUD, yeah, so it's only
That's
100
low
units.
income, and I'm
And
not,
for
I'm not talking, yeah.
affordable housing, are you asking to work with the Beaufort Housing
Yes.
Authority on that or
Yes.
with the private market?
Beaufort housing. Beaufort housing, because what I realize we've had a number of proposals that's been approved, that's moved forward with workforce housing. Honestly, in my mind, there needs to be greater interaction from the board perspective with the Beaufort Housing Authority. I mean, I see Dick sitting back there, but I just think there needs to be greater interaction from the board with the housing authority and their interest in moving forward with workforce housing within the area.
So would that be just improved communication between the housing authority and this board?
However we want to state it, it just seems to me there needs to be something there that recognizes that effort and that there's coordination between the board and the housing authority.
Well, I would expand on the fact that we've got Michelle Eitner, who has been attending those meetings, who has worked with the Housing Authority to research, I want to say, another company to come in to help them to achieve that. We've always worked with them in the past. I don't see where that's an ask that we're not going to be doing any different than we haven't been doing. I appoint people to serve on the board. I mean, we've been engaged with them. Right now, they are still in a transition mode, I guess you could say. You're working through getting your contract together, looking at who you're going to deal with next, and then from that point on, they'll be bringing that plan to us. So am I misstating anything at all? Mr. DeButz? Okay, so, all right.
If there's.
So I'm not quite sure
Yeah,
what we're not doing that you think we should be doing.
I'm
in
not
other
hearing
words.
enough, honestly, and I want to make sure that there is coordination from the board with the housing authority in moving forward. It just seems to me it just seems a little bit disjointed in the sense of the interest expressed by the board and the BHA. And I realize then we also have private activities that are going on, but having that type of discussion periodically with the board so that we understand the direction that all are taking in the way of workforce housing and affordable housing within the area, I think is important. So I'm just bringing it up as an issue that I think should be a part of our planning purposes moving forward.
Well, once they get together, and they're more than welcome to come and present their ideas to us, but it's not our goal to try to tell them what to do.
Right.
But we can support them on the plans on what they plan on doing. But at this point in time, since things have changed, once that occurs, we've always had an open door to hear what they've had to say. So I still don't see where we're missing anything communication-wise.
Yeah, and do we not have a workforce housing development coming up is in the works just behind the bungalows just right off of 70?
That's the
So, I mean,
Taft
they could be,
property,
excuse me.
the Taft property that you're
Yeah,
talking
so
about.
what I'm saying is that there's already one in place in terms of a developer. So if we want to collaborate with them or get them on board or have a group meeting every time, because to my understanding, when they made their presentation, they are quite averse in workforce housing. So, I mean, they could be a real added addition to any discussion that you might want to have in terms of with housing, public housing. That's it.
So do you want to put that as a town priority? I mean, considering communication is still ongoing, did you want to put that as a priority where you can have town staff actually work on something else?
I think I just don't want it to drop in the sense of making sure that it's a part of our discussions as we're moving forward on economic development. And there's so many things that are involved with economic development, and that's certainly one of the elements. I want to make sure that it's not missed in moving forward.
Understood? Yes.
I'd like to add Dexter's comment, or maybe zoom it out a little bit. Mayor Harker, I know that in the past you've been interested maybe in seeing us have some type of committee or work group on workforce housing. So would it be more appropriate to have, a more comprehensive group that would include the BHA and private entities, and we'll all know what the other is doing? I don't know if that's for the medium term, another fiscal year, but I know that we were excited about pursuing that at one time.
And what happened was at the time, the BHA had partnered with the county for our State, Our Home project. And Commissioner Cooper and myself went down there and said, however Beaufort can be part of that capacity building program that UNC Chapel Hill had put together. So I kind of backed off of that and said we would lean our efforts into a group effort because it was a county-led program. And I'm still not quite sure exactly where that's at. It was supposed to be a year and a half, 2-year type of going around, finding out what your needs are.
Right.
And then finding partners to help you satisfy those needs. So when it came down to the Workforce Housing Committee, I backed off on that to lend our efforts to partner with that program. So I think that's going to be actually in flux because the person who was with the county has moved on, so we've got a little kind of going back and forth a little bit here. But that's where we are with that. And I assure you that once the BHA needs anything from the town of Beaufort, they're going to come asking. Right, Dick? That's right. Never mind.
I was going to suggest something very simple, like a regular update. I mean, it would, like you said, if the BHA would like to do that, we're not forcing you, but even, like a quarterly update to the Board of Commissioners at our meeting, I would very much welcome hearing from you all, on a regular basis.
Well, and I could always email Zeb and ask him, or Mr. Huff, who's the executive director, if he can come by and give us quarterly meetings. Now, typically, they're supposed to be coming around and sharing their audit with us as well. I haven't seen that yet, but once again, once that takes place, they'll come and give us an overall view of how many units are being occupied, how many handicaps are needed, what is the ongoing update as far as that's concerned. So they are supposed to touch base with us annually, but I can definitely send out an email and ask him if he would like to come and give us a quarterly update as to where they are.
And if, we could have it on the books quarterly, and if there's not really an update that quarter, they don't have to come, but it would be, I think, welcome by this board to hear from them.
All right, an open door policy, no problem.
Typically, they share the audit in August.
In August, okay, so that is coming up. So, because Mr. Huff is new to the program, I'll just go ahead and send him out an email, but they will have to do that, and I have to sign off on a few other things, but to see if they can come in and give us a little bit more of an update. Now, they also are celebrating 60 years. There's an anniversary, so hopefully they're in the process of planning that. He mentioned that on the Porch Talk series that we did, and hopefully we'll be there to support that as well.
Thank you. I really do think that will help, and it will really fit in well with moving forward with the discussions on economic development, to have that as a part of it. So that they're coming in, and hopefully they'll agree to do that, and talking with us and sharing, I think is good.
Okay, I'll send him an email. That's an easy lift. All right, anything else?
I had a couple items that go under the Parks and Rec goal, so I don't know if they need to be explicitly spelled out. One is what we've been discussing for a while, the fence around Randolph Johnson Playground, and I think that's already well underway now. So, I mean, to me, that goes under the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, or Parks and Rec implementation goal. I don't know if it's helpful to have it as a separate goal, too.
So right now, to provide a general update on that, I believe Parks and Recreation has a meeting August 5th. Then after that, they'll be able to take a peek at the designs for the potential implementation or reinstallation of that fenced area. And then we would be able to come back to this board at the August workshop with an update. And if the board sees fit and we have the adequate prices and you want to execute, then we would instruct staff in August, if that's okay.
I think that's a good
That's
point.
currently on our radar.
I was curious, and I think I reached out about this. I mean, that park's fairly new, and I know the designer, Jay Horton, that put that in, I believe had a raised area there with I don't know if it was a fence or just some type of like buffer and so forth. But I believe at some point the town kind of decided, or the board at the time decided, to remove that and make it much more of a clear shot for visibility. And I was curious if Kyle would be able to give us any background on that. Do you have any recall of how that all played out and why that design ended the way it was? Was that just a board decision at the time?
Your memory is better than mine.
Yeah.
Because I was not as involved in that project at the time, so no, sir. It sounds like a research project.
And I don't remember either what happened, but I will say, as a parent with a young toddler, it is exhausting for me to be at that playground, as the emails from that, I don't even know who that woman is. I mean, I have to be right next to my toddler at all times at that playground because he can be out in the street in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it is the most common complaint I hear about that playground.
So it's exhausting.
What I was told is it had something to do with the chain link fence and separating people. So what the recommendation is a former Parks guy, you can look at a knee-high wall that's very effective. It can be made out of brick, even have a cap on it that you can even use it as a seating place or a resting place for the parents who are running basically toddler goalie. And you want it to be usable and it catches the ball and stops it from the street, because the highest impact of a child in running into the roadway is usually the lost ball and chase. And so if we can find a solution that's aesthetically appealing, very effective, and provides those of us that might have an easy time getting down but a harder time getting up, another place to rest while our youngins are wearing us out, that would be a good solution. So I believe that's what Jen and Mark Eakes are looking at. So Ms. Wellborn's on it. We'll try to bring you back a solution that'll be very well appreciated.
And I'll say the playgrounds in my hometown actually have just that, Matt. They have the brick wall that you can sit on and keeps the kids. And I mean, it'll go through the Parks and Rec Board, so we'll be interested to hear what they say. But there are options like that.
And we do have representation from Parks and Rec in the room, who's, I know, actively listening and has been a very good resource for us. So we want to find a solution that'll check all those boxes.
Well, it sounds like we'll actually get somewhere in that, because it has been a discussion for a long period of time. And as Matt said, I was on the board, it was a matter of what to put there, not if it needed to be put there. And when it was approached, when the board was approached, it was a chain link fence, and that was it. But then we wanted to look at other options that were going to be more aesthetic, and then it just lost steam, and it went from one thing to the other. New boards came along. But hopefully, this will come to a resolution, because it is much needed for safety. All righty, any further discussions about the matrix that needed to be added? Anything else, Matt, that you need to,
I think we do, or did we agree we need the water plant on
Yes.
here?
yeah, future wastewater treatment plant?
Clean, water, it's
Water.
hard to say, because we're
Yes.
so used to saying wastewater, but it's actually a WTP,
Right.
water treatment plant, and I catch myself doing that all the time, and I apologize. So a future placement for fresh water generation.
Let me cross that off my notes.
We put it on the list. the
We'll,
next
we'll
12
we'll
months.
actively work on securing and identifying or reaffirming the pre-deployed site, which would be, if you will, the CVS property, Gibbs properties.
How do we hold action items on some of these things? I mean, obviously, they're all ongoing, they're ongoing in the background, but, you know, say like, obviously, the economic development strategy that we've been talking about, how do we have, or know if things are moving in the background, or things are happening, or as far as the wastewater treatment, will you be having, we know by this certain date, we're gonna go ahead and evaluate for the location, like, how, you know, it's very kind of, just kind of nebulous, this paper, but there doesn't seem like there's, you know, some are ongoing, some have made progress. How do we track this, or kind of know things are moving in the background? We're gonna basically ask you every single month, how's it going? You gonna give us a report every month,
Actually,
or?
opposite of what you said. So
Okay.
it's nebulous from the last year not to have the list.
Mm-hmm.
By having the list, you can hold me accountable, which is so much more powerful for us as a staff. Once we know the 15, 16, 18 items, the staff is active daily. The problem that we've engaged in my career is we're active and we're heading north, and the board wanted us to go southwest. And so now, if this is our true north document, when it comes to a conversation specifically about something as complex as economic development, that's really at this level. And then you would tell us what you want us to do to help you and how we achieve it over the next year. But executing the Parks and Recreation's advisory board goals that they agreed on in December, that tells us, hey, support that, execute. So when Jen comes up, she sends her monthly report out, you start to now see this flow of continuity. And so I don't use this very often, but I would, if you would allow to trust this process, I think we will find it to be very fruitful for staff. And when it's fruitful for staff, things get attacked. And when they're on the table to get executed and cleaned off, because as a clean desk person, I don't really want that lingering project. So the UDO, we know that process will be long. It's gonna take beyond this period. And then we start to do all the other pieces. So like item number 8, which is your wastewater treatment plant's flow and capacity, now I'm getting tripped up. We sent a notice out today. So Sam was intended to be here, but we knew you had a lot on your agenda, so we sent an email out. When there's questions about that treatment plant flow, how we're recording the data, uploading the data, now you can point back to this, and that's where we would go. So in summary, if you can, I would hope that it's the opposite, and once we experience it as a group together, this would be something that becomes an annual for us. And you want a 12-month plan, a 24-month plan, and a 36, and once you start it and build the model, what's in 36 goes to 24, 24 goes to 12, and it starts to be a self-feeding process, and we'll get there.
So is there any further direction that the staff needs? Anything that the board wants to continue to elaborate on? Let me sit up into my mic here. 'Cause now we'll need to decide whether to bring this back as an item of consent or on the discussion at our July 13th meeting? Or are we making a motion today?
if you're in agreement with the items you have on the list, we'll format it, we'll place it on your consent agenda. If there's anything that causes you issue or alarm, you can remove it from there, but we'll take your instructions, format the document, and give ourselves a goal. And it's okay to change the format or ask questions throughout this process, but at least you'll have something to point to, so however the board would like to see it.
Items of consent?
I'm fine with consent.
All right, it's consent.
Okay, so we're
I just,
fine.
I'm not sure about the BHA. I believe we need to support affordable housing. I just don't know how we're gonna do that. What are we doing specifically for that? Are we helping increase like density bonuses? What-
Yeah, go ahead and we'll make that as a subset portion of your economic development item, because those are hand in glove, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Have you just stated that if we do it on item of consent, but if we have an issue, we could pull it off for discussion. Is that what you just said?
So I think what the mayor had asked is this list, which will now be 2 items minus is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It'll be 19 items. You're just approving the formal list on July 13th. And then we'll report to you monthly, and you'll get this in emails, and you'll get this as a manager's report. And I would never be offended if it's a regular meeting or a workshop meeting and you want to ask a question about one of our priorities, we'll give the full report. Yes, sir. Yeah. And I think what we'll do is the mayor would reach out to Zeb Huff on a quarterly update, and we'll put that as a subset for the importance of affordable, or what we've now seen is the term achievable housing. Affordable is a variant based on how much you have. Is it achievable for the standard person? And we will adapt that into economic development.
All right. So it looks like we're going to be able to move forward on that one. Elizabeth, do you have where we're going? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the Beaufort Town Docks financial report, includes April and May of 2026. Mr. Zapp will be up for that one.
Actually, we're going to turn it over to F3. We were able to zoom in a member of F3
I saw a name up
remotely,
there.
so I think Adam's hanging out in some Caribbean island. He just has his office as his backdrop. Is that right, Adam? You just want to look like you're only working in an office space.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Adam Berger from F3 Marina speaking, Director of Accounting here. Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. Calling in from beautiful Brookfield, Wisconsin this evening. I'm going to share my screen right now just to show you the report. It looks like I have to request sharing, so Elizabeth, if you could grant that, thank you.
Okay. Now, Adam, can you hear us?
I can hear you. There's a slight echo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can you see my screen that I'm sharing now?
Yes. Yes.
PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so first slide here, the Big Rock Fishing Tournament, by all accounts, we worked, and the operations team worked very hard in the months leading up to the tournament, and by all accounts, it was a huge success. I've heard it was a record-shattering tournament, and as we go on to present the May fiscal year-to-date financials, it's important to keep in mind that most of the revenues recognized from the tournament will all be captured in the month of June. So where we may have fallen short in the year-to-date before the tournament, I am pleased to say that I think we're going to clear all of our budgeted items at the end of the fiscal year thanks to the tournament. The next slide here is our occupancy booked by today, showing that we have transient bookings of about 57% occupancy.
I can't see that. Can you see that?
And then the next slide here just shows the May year-to-date income statement variance items. So our total income or revenue year-to-date totaled $1.15 million, which was just short of budget by about $240,000, primarily driven by that transient slip rental line item. Also driven by the delayed fuel sales, the fuel service coming on at the end of April. But again, as you can see over here on the fuel sales month to date in June, we've sold about 141,000 gallons at around $5.30 per gallon, which equates to about $750,000 in fuel sales just in the month of June alone, which will obviously drive us well above our budgeted goal year to date. To go along with that, we've been under budget for our operating expenses every month thus far, even with some of the R&M to get ready for Big Rock. But overall, as you can see, in May, we were behind on NOI by about 36%. But again, preliminary figures for the month of June and the full year are looking like we're going to clear all of our budgeted goals. So something that F3 Marina is very pleased to share with the town. And yeah, I look forward to any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, Adam. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Berger at this time?
I do, Mr. Berger, that net operating income that's current, does that include the payment made for the fuel tanks? Doesn't that hit this month? I'm sorry? The debt payment doesn't hit until the new year.
Adam, the debt payment of roughly 285 will not hit to the start after July 1, so that's the answer to the question.
Okay.
Commissioner Matthews, I'm sorry.
There was discussion at the last BWolf meeting, and I don't know if you can help with it. You weren't, I don't think you were there or listening in, but there was discussion on the fuel cells that went on in the way of, I guess we currently have $1 plus whatever we purchase the fuel for, and then we're adding $1 whatever to it as our profit. But there was discussion of having some flexibility in the way of if we buy low and have fuel available, being able to sell that fuel, more of the fuel perhaps, by raising the price that we currently are using. And I never got a really good understanding of why we would not want that flexibility of F3 to be able to do that versus holding to a price that may be below current market in the area.
I can answer that on behalf of F3 if you want. So the model is you're going to sell roughly 750,000 gallons. If we continue to target well and market well, we could sell upwards of 1 million gallons. And having a pro forma that indicates what F3 is expected to do and how they'll dance that dance, if you will. It's currently agreed upon because this board approved an incentive program. So it's actually $1.10 plus cost with an option of a 5 cent or a 10 cent reduction, which would be an incentive. So if you purchase up to 500 gallons to $999, it's a nickel reduction. And if you purchase more than 1,000 gallons, it's a dime reduction, which holds the total cost, the total profitable net at $1 per gallon. And so what F3 shared and what I support F3 is the amount of work that would take to try to play that volatility of the market exceeds the capacity that they have locally to change it. So they're dealing with it on a weekly basis. They're monitoring it. Your purchase on cost of goods added with the $1.10 and the reduction of up to 10 cents a gallon discount I promise you, will result in a higher yield 999 out of 1,000 times. And it is the simple method, because you are a public entity, you have to set a parameter for them to follow. So that was the rationale. We did have a dissenting opinion that you could monitor that and change it more frequently, up to 7 days a week. That is a process and a philosophy, but I can tell you with past experience, the operational model that's in position is set to place Beaufort to receive the most amount of return at the end of a 365-day.
And if I followed everything you just said, then part of that is the actual costs that would be involved by F3 in monitoring and making those adjustments. Is that
There's
correct?
an amount of time that would, so you would monitor on a Monday and try to change your price for a Tuesday, and
Right.
there's the total amount of lost opportunity here. What we're talking about is, we have a very robust fueling system now in position that I'm thankful that we have paid off the first 4 fueling cards in 60 days, as we predicted. I believe, Adam, you'll probably be able to calculate, I think year to date, we're well over 245,000 gallons of fuel sold. And obviously, that's our peak period, so the amount of fuel per day will not meet what it will during Big Rock. But we're tracking in a method that is meeting or exceeding the BWOF's expectation, which I think is extremely important in following the model that's been laid out for almost 2 years. So it very simply put, the juice may not be worth the squeeze to look at the daily or every 24, 48, 36, and to run it on that weekly basis and run it with cost plus the $1.10 will net you a better return. And I believe that's almost verbatim what Lori Meehan shared.
Thank you. And obviously with
Parroting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
With a lot of things going on, it's the first full year of operation of the docks, and I'm sure this and maybe other issues as well may come back, which is reasonable in the sense of having a full year of operations under our belt to assess what needs to be done. But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any further questions for Mr. Berger? Okay. Adam, thank you for hanging in there with us. Not quite sure how long you're online for.
That's all right. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for this update, and we're glad to see these numbers are working out in the favor of, going in the direction that our board would like to see it go in. And so thank you so much for reporting on that.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so now we're going to move on to staff comments. Anybody?
A couple of really
Sure.
brief updates. And I want to thank Griff for taking the NCDOT update that they provided us at the end of last week for Live Oak and NC 101's roundabout. That information has been shared on our website, shared socially, shared internally, so you should have received an email. The synopsis is NCDOT is now trying to provide us more frequent updates that we can provide to the community. So if you haven't had a chance to follow us either on social media, you can visit us at beaufortnc.org for the latest and greatest and most time-sensitive updates from the Department of Transportation as it pertains to traffic, what has been occurring. So since the closure of Live Oak, NCDOT crews have installed storm drainage from McDonald's to Center Street, installed a new water line and fire hydrant across from Live Oak to Burger King to Carter Drive. They've begun shallow undercut operations after unsuitable material was discovered. That's oftentimes an issue. And then this week, crews anticipate installing subdrain systems, followed by asphalt base layers and more. For the full extent and the full report, please visit our website and go to the news section. We're also updating our projects areas as it relates to the NCDOT project, our USDA project as well. And for the board, we have received our final version of the asphalt bid packet. I believe it will be advertised in a paper of local circulation as early as this Wednesday. We look to receive those bids back in July, which would allow the board to review them, make an award as early as August, and then engage in a contract situation that would allow asphalt to be placed in a majority of the construction zones on edge to edge before the end of calendar year 2026. That is contractor availability and weather permitting, but we are making major headway into helping our local residents understand that hopefully some of this dust will come to an end and asphalt will come back. And in fact, that's what we're recording tomorrow. One of multiple of our local Beaufort minutes will be recorded to talk about the importance of the USDA project and when the asphalt may be coming.
I think everybody's going to be excited to hear that part, when the asphalt's going to be coming. I want to thank Griff and everybody for upping our social media game. And I know, Griff, you had sent out an email that shared some statistics as how people are involving via Facebook, Instagram, and things of that nature. And just to back up those numbers, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I know many people here on the board are always in contact with people out in our community. And I am hearing more input from people saying, you know, I saw this, I'm learning about this, I'm hearing that. So shaking that social media up and making it less stale and more inviting is working. So most of you know I have a booth at the farmer's market, and I can barely work that because people are so engaged or coming to ask me questions and imparting information. So you're doing way too good of a job. But, but it is absolutely working, and I want to say congratulations on that. So we're going to be going into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, A and 3, and 143-318. Point 11A and 6. So can I get a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Take a short break and come back. How are you feeling? Okay, all right. All right, as long as you're upright.